Emily returned to her childhood home on a Friday evening, expecting the familiar walls to feel empty and quiet. Instead, the house felt alive, almost aware of her arrival. Her suitcase barely hit the floor when she heard footsteps behind her. Slow, careful, impossibly familiar. Adam stood in the hallway, taller now, broader, but his eyes held the same dark intensity she remembered. "Emily," he said softly. "Adam," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I didn't expect you to be here." "I didn't expect you either," he said, a faint smile tugging at his lips. They both froze for a moment, the weight of years of silence pressing on them. Then her mother's voice called from the kitchen, breaking the tension. Dinner was polite, but nothing could hide the electricity between them. Their parents chatted about trivial things, oblivious, while Emily felt Adam's gaze brush over her like a whisper. When she looked at him, he looked away first, and she felt a strange mixture of relief and longing. Afterward, Emily went outside to breathe. The backyard was quiet, chilled by the evening air. She didn't have to wait long before Adam appeared beside her, without knocking. "You still run away when things get too much," he said quietly. "And you still notice," she replied, sharper than intended. He exhaled, almost laughing. "Some things never change." "Some things should," she whispered. He didn't argue. He just looked at her with an intensity that made her heart skip. For a moment, they simply stood there, the world around them irrelevant. Suddenly, a car door slammed in the driveway. Their neighbor was outside, shouting about a broken fence. Adam flinched. Emily grabbed his hand. The intrusion was minor, but it startled them both, reminding them that the outside world didn't pause for their emotions. They stepped back inside, hearts still racing. That night, Emily lay awake, listening to the faint sounds of Adam moving in his room. She didn't mean to, but she walked into the hallway. His door was slightly ajar. "Can't sleep?" he asked softly when he saw her. "Too many thoughts," she admitted. He nodded. "Same here. Or maybe too many memories." They talked quietly, their voices barely above whispers. About the past, about all the moments they ignored, about fear and longing. Every word drew them closer. Suddenly, the sound of a falling picture from the hallway startled them both. They laughed nervously, the tension breaking for a moment. Small incidents like that reminded them life was outside their bubble too, unpredictable and alive. Emily stepped closer. "Adam, I can't stop thinking about what we felt, what we ignored." He swallowed hard. "I've felt the same. I tried to pretend, I really did. But it never went away." The air between them shifted. Hesitant, careful, they let themselves inch closer, until they were almost touching. Not yet kissing, not yet confessing fully, but the proximity carried years of emotions unspoken. "I loved you," he finally whispered. "I loved you too," she admitted, tears threatening, but a strange relief filling her chest. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his fingers lingering. She leaned into him. They didn't kiss yet. The moment was too fragile. They just held each other, letting the emotions speak. Morning came with the scent of rain outside. They awoke to find the world bright and indifferent, but in their shared space, everything had changed. Emily felt his hand find hers across the small table where they had breakfast. "No matter what happens," she whispered, "we face it together." "Always," he said, his voice firm yet tender. Later, when she tried to leave to see her old friends, the sound of a car honking suddenly made them both jump. Adam grabbed her hand. "Stay with me a little longer," he said, and Emily smiled. Sometimes life interrupted them, but sometimes it reminded them that the moments they had together were precious. They laughed quietly, savoring the tension, the fear, the thrill of forbidden closeness, and the safety of finally being honest. That night, after another small scare, a cat crashing into a vase, they finally kissed. Soft, hesitant, and full of everything they had denied for years. It wasn't just a kiss. It was an explosion of emotion, a promise, a reckoning. They lay together afterward, shoulder to shoulder, hearts beating in sync, and Emily knew something fundamental had shifted. She wasn't afraid anymore. Not of love, not of Adam, not of the complicated, unpredictable world outside their small cocoon. For the first time in years, she felt alive in a way that had nothing to do with the past, and everything to do with the truth of now. The next morning, Emily woke to a soft tapping at her window. Rain had started, tapping a rhythm on the glass. She glanced over and saw Adam standing outside with a small umbrella, drenched but smiling. "You forgot your coffee," he said, holding up a steaming cup. She laughed despite herself. "You followed me?" "I said I'd stay," he replied. "Didn't say where." The moment was light, almost playful, and it broke some of the tension that had built overnight. Yet beneath it, something darker lingered, years of unsaid emotions, of boundaries they both feared to cross. As they moved through the house, they discovered small surprises from the past. Emily found an old photo of them as teenagers, messy hair, awkward smiles, and the caption her mother had written, "Always together." Adam leaned over her shoulder. "Do you remember that day?" She laughed softly, the sound almost breaking. "I remember thinking you were annoying, but I liked it too." He smiled, and for a moment the heaviness lifted. Then came a sudden knock at the door. A stranger was standing there, a cousin visiting unexpectedly, full of questions and curious energy. The sudden intrusion pulled them back into reality, forcing them to hide their closeness behind polite conversation. When the cousin left, the quiet returned. Emily leaned against the wall, exhaling sharply. That was too close. Adam's hand found hers. "It's never really been easy, has it?" "No," she admitted. "And it probably never will be." Later that afternoon, they decided to explore the small town. Rain had stopped, leaving puddles reflecting the grey sky. Every step they took together seemed like a small rebellion against all the rules they had tried to follow for years. Suddenly, a dog ran past, knocking over Emily's bag. She shrieked and stumbled, and Adam caught her just in time. Their faces were inches apart, breaths mingling. Both laughed nervously, the adrenaline sharp in their veins. "Careful," he whispered, though his eyes were fixed on hers. "I don't want to be careful," she said softly, almost inaudibly. They continued walking, hands brushing more and more, each touch electric. Then an unexpected thunderclap rolled across the sky. Rain returned in torrents, and they sprinted for shelter under a small awning, soaked and laughing. "Why does everything feel so intense?" Emily asked, dripping wet, eyes shining. "Because it is," he said simply, "and because we've waited too long to feel it." They stayed under the awning, pressed close, sharing warmth and quiet laughs, letting the storm around them mirror the chaos and thrill of their emotions. Back at the house, they made tea, still dripping, still buzzing from the rain. A small fire flickered in the fireplace, casting dancing shadows. Emily sat on the floor, leaning against Adam's knee. He stroked her hair absent-mindedly, and she felt a rush of comfort and longing. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was an unexpected call from her ex-boyfriend, asking for a meeting about something trivial. The sound of his voice outside her world reminded her of how messy life was. Adam's hand tightened on hers. "Ignore it," he said gently. "Right now, it's just us." She smiled, relieved, and rested her head against him. "It's always been just us, hasn't it?" "Always," he said. Later, when the house was quiet, they sat on the couch, the firelight painting soft patterns on the walls. Emily's eyes traced the lines of Adam's face. "Do you think this will ever get easier?" "Maybe not," he admitted. "But it doesn't have to. We just have to be honest." She nodded. Honesty feels terrifying but good. They laughed softly, a release after a day full of tension, surprises, and emotions running high. Then, without warning, he leaned close and kissed her. Gentle, urgent, trembling with emotion. It was a kiss that carried every fear, every longing, every stolen moment from the past. When they pulled back, they were breathless. Emily rested her forehead against his chest. "I've never felt so alive," she whispered. "Me neither," he replied. "And yet, it feels like home." That night, as they lay side by side, listening to the wind and the faint drip of rain from the eaves, they both understood something profound. Life outside the house might be unpredictable and full of obstacles, but inside this space they had found each other, honest, unguarded, and irrevocably connected. The storm outside had passed, but the storm within them had only just begun, in the most beautiful and terrifying way. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the curtains, warm and golden. Emily woke to find Adam already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring out the window. "Morning," she whispered. "Morning," he replied, voice low. "Sleep well." "For the first time in years," she admitted. She swung her legs over the edge and moved closer to him. He looked at her, eyes dark and intense. "Emily, I can't stop thinking about last night. About us." "Me neither," she said softly. Her hand brushed his, fingers intertwining naturally. They shared a quiet moment, just holding hands, the air heavy with unspoken thoughts. Then the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Adam groaned. "Who?" It was a delivery man with a large package. Emily opened it to find an old, forgotten box of letters and photographs from their childhood. She laughed nervously, memories flooding back. "These. I forgot all about them." Adam sifted through the letters, pausing on one he had written but never sent. "I wrote this to you once," he said quietly, "but I never gave it. I guess I still needed to." She took the letter from him, reading the words slowly. It was full of raw emotion, longing, and love disguised as friendship. Her chest tightened. "Adam, you always felt this way?" "I did," he admitted. "And I still do." Before she could respond, a sudden noise from the street outside startled them. A car crash, loud and sharp. Both jumped. It was minor, but it made them cling to each other instinctively. Emily laughed, nervous but exhilarated. "We really are surrounded by chaos, huh?" Adam smiled, brushing wet strands of hair from her face. "And yet, we've never felt more together." The day passed in a blur of small adventures, walking through the garden, finding old hiding spots from childhood, laughing over memories, and teasing each other in ways only they could. Every accidental touch, every shared glance, carried the weight of years of suppressed emotion. That night, a sudden blackout threw the house into darkness. The emergency lights flickered, and Emily grabbed Adam's arm instinctively. "I hate this," she whispered, heart racing. "You don't need to be afraid," he said firmly, holding her close. "I'm here." In the dim, flickering light, they laughed nervously, the fear and adrenaline heightening their closeness. Adam leaned down and kissed her, longer this time, deeper, letting the world fade away. The blackout outside mirrored the storm of emotions inside them: confusion, longing, relief, and undeniable love. When the lights returned, They stayed wrapped in each other's arms. Emily rested her head on his chest. "I don't want to pretend any more. I don't want to run." "Then don't," he whispered. "We face everything together, Emily. Nothing else matters." The storm of the day had passed, but the emotional storm between them remained, intense, unstoppable, and real. They kissed again, tenderly, urgently, letting each moment of closeness fill the years of absence and longing. Finally, they lay together on the couch, the fire casting soft shadows, bodies intertwined, hearts beating in sync. Emily closed her eyes. "I'm not afraid any more," she whispered. "Neither am I," Adam replied. "And I never will be, not with you." Outside, the world continued, unpredictable and loud. Inside, they had found something timeless: truth, trust, and a love that had waited long enough to become unstoppable. For the first time, Emily and Adam understood. Life was messy, complicated, and sometimes frightening. But together, nothing could shake them. Not the chaos outside, not the fear of what others might think, not the past they had tried to bury. In each other's arms, they had finally found home.